Welcome to Manual Work is a Bug, a podcast about the future of work and life with artificial intelligence, with your hosts, Hillary and Matthew Black.
Hello. All right. I want to know, what are you drinking today?
Well, I'm drinking a lot of things today, but right before this, I needed caffeine, and I don't like to do the 200 milligram Ghost, which is like my normal energy drink. So I did a Monster, which I don't normally do, but they're good.
They're good.
Yeah, they're good. They're good. And then I'm like, okay, well, Monster sponsors athletes. Why not coders?
Yeah.
And now I feel like I need to go get sponsored by Monster.
I mean, I'm for it. I like Monsters. They're like the perfect amount of caffeine, I feel.
Yeah, could you see me walking around with a little Monster hat?
Yeah.
Like Lewis Hamilton, but I just run a tech company.
Yeah, I mean, they sponsor F1 driver.
Yeah.
He's got his own flavor. That's the flavor that you have.
Is it?
Yeah.
No, this is Lando Norris.
Yeah. Well, he's a driver.
Yeah, I know. But
yeah, so you would say Matthew Black on it?
Yeah, that's actually a great idea. Just Matthew Black.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see it have little zeros and ones on the can. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Performance coding.
Yeah, so Monster, if you're watching this.
I mean, we have gotten our whole engineering team addicted to caffeine, so
yeah,
we're perfect for this. This is right up our alley.
Yeah. So this is now welcome to Manual Work is a Bug, sponsored by unnamed caffeine.
Yeah, we can't say that we're not sponsored, but we wish we were sponsored.
Yeah. So yeah, any energy drinks out there that want to sponsor us, we are here. And welcome back, everyone. We are excited to be keeping the momentum going. We have a lot of ideas here. But in the last episode where we kind of left off is talking about, how we're actually using AI in our day-to-day, how we're using it at work as a company that builds AI, how do we use AI? So I just wanted to get into that a little bit today with you, because I feel you are the champion of using AI within the company. So would love to kind of hear where you are with that now. But even first, just to back it up a little bit, you had shared this Jack Dorsey article and talked about it in the last episode. So would love if you can kind of just break that down for anyone who has not read it and doesn't know what we're talking about.
Yeah. So first off, I have a little comment. When we say with AI, it feels to me like back in the day when someone would be like, how are you using the internet?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It feels like we're very past that now. And it's just of course you're using AI. Of course you're using the internet, right? It's I think this whole with the AI thing is just gonna slowly fizzle away, and the new way of technologically doing things will just assume AI. And I don't know that we're there yet, but every time I hear the with AI, I'm I kind of feel like a grandpa with an AOL disk being here I am buying stuff online.
Yeah, let me insert the internet into my computer.
Yeah, look how I'm on the internet.
Yeah.
Anyways, so there's this article came out when did it come out? A few months ago by Jack Dorsey, which I've always been a huge Jack Dorsey fan. I think he's constantly pushing the needle of not just technology with literally co-founding Twitter, but also ways of operating a business. He just constantly tweaks and comes up with some pretty interesting stuff. Anyways, he came up with this blog post, which is kind of like a North Star for me. It's titled From Hierarchy to Intelligence. And, without filling up the whole podcast with the core of it, everyone should go read it, link to it, whatever. But there's a couple things. He says, number one, that the whole reason for hierarchy, and you could think about that back in the Roman days with war times, and you had a general and a chief and soldiers, or however that goes. Plenty smarter people on the construction of war people, but like from that time to even like modern day of like organizations, right? You have these org charts and this hierarchy. And the whole reason of that is because you need to distribute information efficiently and ideally as quickly as you can. And the best way to do that is like there's one person who has the information, and then he gives to the next layer and the next layer and the next layer. And like each layer is slowly curated or carefully curated for the team that needs to know it, when they need to know it, and how they need to know it. And like the transmission of information is the reason we even have a hierarchy and org charts, right? And his whole thing is, instead of looking at AI as a sheer like productivity tool, which I think in our last episode we described it as like you use GPT to like replace Google, right? Like you get a little productivity bump, right? But instead of just looking at it as a productivity bump, like there is an opportunity to like rechange the way companies work. And his whole thing is like, and he talks about what he's building in Block, which is very similar to what I'm trying to build here. There's one, he calls it a worldview model, right? And the worldview model is comprised of two main elements: real-time data on what's happening with the product, right? So for him, that would be Square, Cash App, all these things, but like real-time access to, the things that are moving the product forward. And then there's another section, and he calls that the customer view, right, inside the world model. And then there's another section to it where he calls it the company view in the world model, and that's all the things that the company's doing real time. So and it's cross-referenced with like goals and what they're trying to accomplish, and this could be like revenue goals, roadmaps, products we're trying to release, but also like down to the literal meeting what's happening, right? And when you combine both of these things and you give the entire company access to it, you flatten intelligence so that anyone in the company can know as much as the CEO, and probably even greater. And when you have that, you the need for like hierarchy and organization and org charts collapses, and you have essentially all these people that work, he calls it, on the edge of the model, and they dip into it when they need intelligence, and it informs what they do, right? So they're constantly dipping into it, right? And like the cool thing about that is every time you execute a move, whether that's creating a marketing campaign, launching a feature in the product, having a customer call, closing a new deal, every time you like dip into the model to do that, the model updates, and now everyone knows everything real time. And that's crazy. And it's an extraordinarily efficient way to run a business where everyone's almost an IC versus, the need for this org chart and like managers and upper management, like all that collapses, and now everyone's pushing things forward in an IC way, which is super, super cool. The last thing I'll say, because I'm sure we're going to go in many directions here, but like the concept, the analogy that I keep giving around this of working on the edge, and like there's like one model that the company uses to push the company forward that seems to stick and resonate with people is like, are you familiar with the difference between, from my understanding, they both have caught up, but an early Boeing versus an early Airbus?
Definitely not.
Okay. Yeah, I know. So early Boeing, mechanically speaking, the pilot would take the yoke and he would execute a command, and it would execute directly to the plane. So if he turns right, the plane goes right. If he turns left, the plane goes left, right? Direct input, right? And if you think about it, that's very much how we run a business, right? I'm going to do a thing, right? Mm-hmm. And like, hey, what's going on? I'm going to go search for information, ask people, like, gather input, and then I'm going to make the move, right? And there's nothing in between me and the move. With an Airbus, though, what happens is the pilot executes a command. The command goes to the computer evaluates the command and says, changing this direction, that's a safe move. Let's do it. And the computer executes the move on the plane, right? So human, computer, move, right? And that is exactly the way I operate now, right? Like, I don't do anything directly anymore. I dip into the model. I stay on the edge. I dip into the model. I say, hey, I want to accomplish this. It either validates what I want to do or corrects my line of thinking. And then if it can just do it, do it. And every day I'm shrinking the amount of things that I'm doing directly as a human to operate the business. And I'm commanding the model to do it for me. And it's getting better and better. And we're just adding more things to it. And the idea that all of us now sit on the edge and we just direct this thing, and this thing's in the front kind of operating our business is fascinating. And I think that's the future of companies. Yeah. Man, I talked a lot there. Holy shit.
Yeah, well, you're about to talk more, I guess, because of course I have questions. I mean, I think giving the example, obviously, of the plane, like, makes a lot of sense. It's very simplified, but you're not flying a plane. So to make that real for people, kind of just, can you walk through, even just like to give examples? Like, I don't want to say, here's your day today, and here's your day today with AI. It's like, here's your day today, how you do it. Would love to know just kind of what that looks like what that looks like from when you are sitting down to work, or even like things that are happening while you're asleep, like things that are happening in your rack at home or whatever, like things are happening all the time, but mostly like when you sit down to do the things, what does that look like for you? And like, how is that different maybe from like where you used to sit down before, and like how you used to feel about it?
Yeah. We should show a picture of my home rack, by the way. I'm super proud of it. So show that. Yeah, so I think I feel like there was like a turning point for me maybe like 4 months ago where, okay, so I'm a big user of Things, which is like a getting things done system, GTD. Been doing it for like a decade.
You're a pro at it, for
yeah,
sure.
Well, it's just the way I operate, right? I put things in my to-do list. It sits in the inbox. I go through it. I clear it out. I schedule it on the day. But the whole purpose is to get to like inbox zero, right? Mm-hmm. And that's always worked really well for me over the last decade. But the thing with Things is it's manual in, it's manual out, right?
Yeah.
I put the to-dos in there. I have to do the to-dos. I have to check off the to-dos, right?
Well, and you have to sort them too.
I have to sort them. I have to think through it. Like I gave my exec ops Molly access to it to like try to help me manage this, and it's just like, God damn it, this is so tedious, and like there just has to be a better way, and like that. And I was recently talking about this, like. I think the shift from using AI to productivity to actually understanding how to operate with AI only comes from a place of I want to solve a problem, right? Like I'm going to learn how to do this to solve a problem. And like my problem at the time was like I need to get more efficient to really run this business. So I started and I think this was right around the time when I was like recording calls and like transcribing them. So I'd go into meetings, I would transcribe calls on Otter or whatever.
I'd put like a device.
Yeah, a little device. I'd like put it in the meeting and record it. And the whole purpose was like, so I could attend a meeting, and if there were any to-dos that come out of that, I could literally just get them in an easy way and then put them in Things and like not lose track of stuff. Because I'm going from meeting to meeting, and like, I lose track of things all the time, and like I was dropping the ball too much.
Well, and also like the reason a lot of those tools were created too, for one, like people can't be everywhere all the time, but also so you can actually like be in a meeting and participate in it.
Yeah.
And not like in the back of your mind be like, what are my to-dos? Okay, I got to remember to write this down. And you're like, I have to go do this right now or whatever. And you're not actually like participating in a meeting.
Yeah,
physically.
like for me, I like, you know how they're like, bring a little notepad, take notes. Like I watch people do that. I was like, how the fuck can you do that? Like I can't be in a meeting and take notes.
Yeah.
Like my brain isn't, I can't take notes period, but like my brain doesn't work that way. So I would start by putting this device in the room. We'd have a meeting, and then I would like take the device, take the audio off of it, transcribe it, then put it in and be like, what were my to-dos here? And it'd be like, boom, boom, boom. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I'd like take that and put it in things. And then like that was like V1, right? And then the next version is like, wait a minute, like, can't I just like get the transcripts? Like there's tools like Otter. Yeah. And then I found Granola, which like Granola has an MCP server. I was like, wait a minute, I can just use Granola. And then the second a meeting's done, the transcript's just available to me in my model. And then I'm like, whoa, I should just loop over all my meetings in my calendar. So every time something's done, it's telling me what my to-dos are. And then I'm like, whoa, if I'm at that point, why doesn't it just put the to-dos inside of Todoist? I had to switch off things to Todoist because things doesn't have an MCP server. Funny how having an MCP server is now like the feature you need for all this to work. So it's separated a lot of the software market. And now I just go to my meeting, it transcribes, it comes out with to-dos, it cross-references it with the world model. We have a version of our world model, which we'll talk through at a later time. Gives context to things like, oh, you talked about doing this thing. This is why it's important to Q3. Here's what engineering's doing about it. Here's what sales is doing about it. So it gives me a nice, fresh context. Sort orders based on when it needs to be done. Tries to give me a P1 to P5 priority based on my job, what it knows of me. And then every day hits me with like, hey, here's what's going on. Here's other things that happened in the company. Do you need to adjust that list? And now I am like, it's almost kind of like my to-do list is an orchestrator for AI now. Like it populates, I sort order, I edit, and then I give it back to execute. And there are things that I still have to do as humans, like, hey, call that big customer, or like, you know, call big relationships, human type stuff, right? But at least I'm well prepped for that. Like even today, it spit me out a one pager of like all the key talking points that I had like worked on over the week. So I went into my meeting and it was just there for me. But also a lot of times it could just do these things now.
Yeah, and well, and because it's something that, and like we can talk about this too, like because something like Granola is something that the entire company is using, then if you're going into one of those, you know, big customer conversations, but you weren't in the initial meetings or you didn't have that, you can get those talking points from someone else on customer success or from sales or from whoever it is that has that context, has those ideas, and has, you know, what they said. They can share that information with you, and that can kind of become part of it too.
Yeah. And like and this next thing will be as far as I'm gonna go on this podcast, because I feel like there's so many ways to look at this, but like what we just described is like a really good version of operating with AI. Like it's almost like a second brain to you, but also like you're routing everything through it, right? It's like it's just part of how you live and operate now. And by doing that, you're making it so much better. You are doing your things better, and the need to orchestrate or to deliver information in a old archaic hierarchy, which is inefficient, takes forever, super expensive, is no longer needed because you have access. All of us have access to the real-time everything, right? And there's also a really interesting quote. I forget who said it. I might botch it, but he gave the example, and it actually might even be in the article with Jack Dorsey. He gave the example of how IBM back in the day had so many different layers of hierarchy that the CEO had no idea what was going on in the company. And the whole job is like, you have like the floor worker and the CEO, right? And every department, right? Like every like step in that hierarchy tells a little bit of a lie upward, right?
Yeah.
And it's like could be like a soft lie or like a, but like, yeah, like maybe you're off by 40% and you say you're off by like 30.
Yeah, like
right?
you exaggerate.
Then next level up,
Yeah.
oh, we're off by 20. Then we're off by 10. Oh, we're right on track.
Yeah.
Or, oh, this partnership's pretty much closed, right? And then as the CEO, he has no fucking idea what's going on in the company. He can't make appropriate decisions. And now all of a sudden you have an entire company built on just little white lies all the way up. And the whole, it's so disconnected and it's just dysfunctional at that point. And that's so true. And I love the idea of radical transparency, which is one of our core values. And this just seems to match the way I like to see like what is actually happening, shared by all, accessible by all. And like there will be people who don't like that concept in running companies. They're gonna have a really, really hard time adopting AI. Like, and that's the same with like recording like meetings. Like I remember like that used to be like I don't know if I want to record this meeting. It's not optional anymore. You need to record things and give it to the model for this to work. And once you get there, you'll start seeing all the benefit and the value, but like there are just things that you got to believe to be correct and right. Mm-hmm. And then if you get on board with that, you can start operating with AI, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess kind of like on that and thinking about clearly your day to day, it's very useful to like have all these, to-dos that you're all ranking and doing everything like that. But like, has anything surprised you? Because even thinking about my own use too, it's like surprising, not in the way that like, oh, it works, but more surprising in like how it has changed the way that your day actually functions, like what you're able to do, how you are feeling, or like things that you didn't even really realize were taking up so much of your time that now are gone. Like, is there anything in all of this, including like that example, but also the other things that like we haven't really talked about, of the ways that you have implemented AI into your work that has surprised you?
Man, it's hard to answer that now looking back. Like I almost don't even remember back before we were doing this. But I mean, one thing that I think is pretty special is the lack of needing to clean data. Like remember how like and it's still important to a certain extent, but like the idea of like data hygiene, right? Like CRMs, like structured data, like make sure all these things are right. Like, and they're still needed to a point, because like if you do feed a model like incorrect data, it will hallucinate, and that could affect many. It's like a chain reaction, right? But like the importance of like really making sure that things are labeled and organized, and those systems are like the humans are really checking all the boxes. Like it's getting really good now, where it will be like, hey, I know that thing's not in that state, but I know from other things in the company, like maybe a deal's not updated, but at the L10 meeting, the deal said it was closed. My thing already knows, even though HubSpot still has that deal one state forward, my model knows that our salesperson just didn't get around to updating it.
Right, like
and
the manual
like,
part. Yeah.
Every time something like that comes across, like, and that's why, like even you get out of the growth meeting, right? I'm like, hey, is it in Granola? It's Granola. You're like, yeah, it is. I was like, oh yeah, it just hasn't processed yet. Yeah. I hit enter. I go and I see what's going on, and I get like one little beautiful summary. I'm like, cool, I can go on with my day, right? And like that's the thing I'm talking about. Like when you fully do connect the pieces right, and you do have this world model, like the need to really rely on the individual tooling is like important to a certain degree, but like it's even smarter than that. And it astonishes me that it's that smart already. And there was a world where, like, in 2019, like, there would be no way to know that unless I literally knew to call someone, ask, and them understand. Like, that's why, like, people were so religious about keeping CRMs updated, because it's the only way they could distribute that information, right? And the need for hierarchy, right? Like, and that's the thing where that still surprises me.
Yeah. So what do you feel like either like hasn't worked, or things that you just like are still kind of figuring out? Like things that I feel like I have such a long list of like things I want to include, or things I want to connect to each other, or ways that I want to be using this that I'm just not. Like, do you feel like there's something that still is like a little bit messy, just even in the way that you are orchestrating it, that you want to like go for next?
Yeah, I know where I'm going deep next. So there's this concept in product and engineer. You're familiar with it. It's called evals, right? And the whole concept is like you use the LLM as a judge to evaluate what it did and tell you this was good, this was bad, right? Sounds simple, right? What gets really special is when you use that judge to re-alter the prompt. And there's this new concept that's like the hottest thing since sliced bread. It's called loop engineering. And the concept is like you don't directly prompt anymore. You build a loop to improve the prompt based off the feedback. So like you say, this is what I'm trying to accomplish, get after it. And every time it does an iteration, it gets better and better and better because it evaluates itself and like knows how to improve the prompt itself. But like the prompts are hands off from like the whole idea of like prompt engineering is probably old already, right? And there's really clear ways of like for Mav, maybe some of our listeners are smart enough to know how we're looking at that in terms of our products. Like we do a lot of volume. We talk to a lot of insurance customers, and the volume is just massive. A lot of training data to self-evaluate on, then to self-train our prompts so the machine gets better. Like that's a pretty clear-cut case. There's a lot of AI first companies that are doing that, but like I want to do that on operating the company, right? Like I want to create certain judges that sit alongside of us as humans in the company and evaluate all things like, hey, that sales call, you should be doing it like this next time. Or, hey, these people you're selling to, based off of what I'm seeing, you should probably try selling to this people, right? Like, just like the eval is informing us to improve a prompt, I want there to be something in the company that's constantly prompting us how to get better as operators in the company. And that's like, that's a wild concept. It's a lot easier when it's doing the action, but it's still pretty crazy to say, I'm just going to go about my day and every day I'm going to know how to be better tomorrow based off of literally the smartest thing we have in the company that's connected to all facets of the company. And that, I don't know that anyone's there right now. No. At least if they're there. I mean, I'm sure someone's there.
Yeah.
But
you're not hearing
about it. Yeah, they're not talking about it. So that's the stuff that like I don't know exactly how I'm going to orchestrate and engineer, but I think it's coming pretty quickly here.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And obviously I agree with you that like that is such a good opportunity, especially given the amount of information and just given the ways that a lot of it can be like very concrete of just like it is or it isn't, you know, good behavior, bad behavior, or that kind of thing. I think that would be awesome. So to take a step like outside of that, obviously we're talking about things that you're like, I don't know if anyone's even had this thought before. most people are, even if they're listening to this, they're interested in AI or anything like that. They have an insurance agency, they are a business owner. They are not as far along as you are. So, like, what are some kind of like seeds or ideas that you could share with people who just really want to improve their work and their life as, a business owner, but aren't really sure where to start? Like, obviously they're to a point where I'm sure using ChatGPT, they have tools, like maybe they have Granola, or maybe they're using Claude, or like whatever they're using. How can they kind of start laying the foundations to be able to implement some of this stuff into their world?
Yeah. You mean besides just use math? No, I'm just
Yes.
obviously use math, but what you just asked is actually a great question to ask the model.
Mm-hmm.
Do this. Record your screen all day. Let's make a video. Record it all day, maybe a couple days. Upload that video into a model and say, based off of where agentic tooling is today, or where AI is today, what are certain things that I should be taking off my plate?
Mm-hmm.
Like, arguably you should know, right?
Yeah.
You should know what are the
biggest
mundane,
problems.
Yeah, well, just like the things that, like, why am I still doing this, right? Like, and maybe it's just second nature and you completely forgot why you're doing things, but like I think whenever you're in what should I do? Like, just ask the thing itself. Like, it's such a weird concept, but you'll probably get somewhere a lot quicker. And like, look, there's always, like, especially in insurance where it's highly fragmented, there's so much tech that doesn't play well. It's on the most unmodern tooling out there, but also, AI has gotten to a point where it can hook up to a lot of RPA things. So we see folks that are like running, I think it's Claude Atlas, where it literally will open up a desktop tool, click around for you, and like do things for you, right? Like, and that's like that. It doesn't matter what you're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It could be literally opening up a desktop app to submit a SOAP request for a carrier quote, right? Like, it doesn't matter at that point. But whenever in doubt, just ask the model, right?
Yeah, I mean, I do that all the time. I just was doing that today, actually. Like, even I was doing it, I had downloaded an entire year's worth of like our LinkedIn content. And so I had the spreadsheet like from LinkedIn, just the raw links and the numbers and the text. So I was just like, what are some things I could do with this? And then it gave me some charts. It said, hey, let me categorize all of these and then tell you which types of ones are performing the best. Mm-hmm. And that type of thing, like, it's just a spreadsheet. Like, sure, it's not anything that is proprietary or sensitive.
Did it create an artifact out of it?
Yeah, so it created an artifact. We're working on like creating a dashboard, but even to just see like, hey, you posted 182 times and this type of post that you posted the most actually like does the worst. You know, like that type of thing is something that I probably could have done that on my own, but I wouldn't have ever done it. And I think that that's the type of thing too, is like, if there are things that you want to look into that aren't even like, customer facing anything, or even if you want to take some of your call recordings and make a training manual for some of your team, when you're like, I'm going to record my 3 best calls with a prospective customer, and then I'm going to distribute that to my team in like a PDF that is very easy to understand. You can just provide that type of information and ask different ways that it could be utilized. And I think I have been very surprised by just like the amount of things I'm able to better interpret when I would have spent, 2 minutes looking at something and then had to move on to something else, versus now I can not only like looking at it a way that is useful, I can identify like a path forward to say, okay, now I can do this every month and I can put this in, and then it will, categorize it based on what is already there, and I can just like move forward with more information that can be like spread around to all the other work that I'm doing.
Yeah, so like 2 things. So like I think Jeff Bezos says this well, like his job is to get 80% of the information as quickly as possible to make a decision, right? And if you get 100%, you're too late. if you get 60%, you're too early, right? He's got like this like mental model, right? And that's why we're in an arms race for a lot of these models, because like it's like the deeper you integrate and like the better you integrate, the quicker you get to that 80%, and the more confidently you feel in that information, the quicker you can make decisions. And like you'll like the decision logic will always sit with us, right? Like I do not see a world in where we have true, AGI that's literally go make me a $10 million company, make zero mistakes. Like, come on. Like, that's just not going to be the reality of it. But like getting access to that information as quickly as possible, like it's becoming the unfair advantage, right? And I think a lot of people are realizing that. Two, like I keep coming back to like, how do I compare what's happening right now to what I've gone through in my career? So I've been at this for like 20 some years. And when I first started, I got into programming because I had a problem to solve, right? Like it's not that I didn't find programming, I wasn't passionate about programming. I was passionate about solving a problem I had, right? Like I needed to solve that problem. If programming was the way that I could solve that problem, so be it. Let's get after it, right? And like that's the only way that I feel like you will get to some place of substance. Like it's like people who go to college and like they're like, I'm going to college to learn. Like, dude, what? Like, go to college to solve a real thing for your life. Like, what do you want to do? What are you trying to solve, right? Like, you got to look at this the same way. Find a problem that you are so passionate about solving and go see if AI can solve it. Chances are it probably can, and it probably can do it very, very well. And if you do that and you take enough shots at bat, you'll get to a very special place. And like every day for me, it's the same thing. I'm gonna take a little thing, just try to make it a little bit more efficient, a little bit better. And it's just Lego after Lego after Lego. And I treat it very much like I treated programming 20 years ago. Like I am gonna operate this company better than anyone's ever seen. And that's the problem I'm trying to solve right now. And that is like that's the minds you gotta have, right? Like you can't just dabble around, otherwise you're never gonna get somewhere real.
Yeah, I mean, you have to commit. You have to, for one, spend the time. It's not something that is like easy to do and takes no time to do. Like you have to spend the time to kind of create the strategy for yourself, start doing it, commit to doing it, commit to helping it and solving its own problems and creating, other spaces and growing what the capabilities are over time. Like it's not something that can just be like a switch is flipped,
Yeah, getting buy-in too, right? Like this world model thing that we talk about. Luckily we're an AI company, so there's no buy-in from you guys. You guys are just like, give us the latest and greatest. But like you like I don't think there's gonna be a bright future for some of your company to use AI and others to not. Like I just do not see how you really benefit from the true value of AI until you fully adopt a living on the edge model, right? Like some people can't be directly executing and some people can't. And I know there's nuances there. Like you think of like a manufacturing company where like there's like literal people making things with machines, but robotics is catching up really quick, right? And like fully autonomous robotics is getting there pretty quickly. And like I think this is like it's a decision that a lot of leaders are going to have to make. And there's a lot of companies that are easier to make the decision and some that are harder. Totally get it. But like it's gotta, it's kind of like hey, some of the companies remote, some of the companies hybrid, some of the companies in office, right? Like, how I feel about that, right? Like it only will get you so far. So that's kind of that's the decision I think is going to happen. And the people who just fully embed and make a really strong point out of everyone learning how to operate with AI will just holistically get there much quicker.
Yeah, I think so too. I think even like among us, like some people are using Claude, some people are using ChatGPT, and you even see the differences in just how far they're able to go, like how much they're able to do in their day to day, depending on what they're using, just because we have made so much greater investments in certain areas of like building our own tooling, like building our skills, like building this, like just seeing the difference between those two things, like within our own selves.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, no, it's interesting.
Yeah. Well, so with that, I don't have any Mav stories today, except for one small one that happened this week, which was we had a pickle party at our office.
I feel like I'm getting flashbacks from that.
To explain the pickle party to everyone before we get into this, we taste tested about 10 different
This is like 12.
pickle flavored items, so not pickles, pickle cotton candy, pickle jelly beans, pickle pretzels, pickle popcorn.
I was so excited for this too, and like immediately when it started, I was like, "This is horrible."
Yeah, so we all ate a lot of pickle items and then had stomach aches for the entire day. And since then, this was on Monday, it's now Wednesday, we have been having more pickle items show up in the office. And I think me personally, am like very scarred from this experience. So I thought, why not do more? So we're going to try these. This is pickle roulette. So we might not have to be scarred by pickles with this.
So is there like a ratio?
So
like how many
I don't know.
pickle flavors to candies?
So there are 4 flavors: green apple, lemon, lime, watermelon, and pickle.
And they all look like pickles.
They all
so
look
you just don't
the
know what you're
same.
gonna get. And this is actually the one that I rated the best.
Same.
Not because I thought it tasted the best, because I absolutely love this idea. Like you don't know if you're getting candy or a pickle.
Yeah, exactly. And then even I rated it the best because I didn't get ones that tasted like pickle, and I needed a break after all of the pickle. So
All right, let's see. What'd you get? Well, let's cheers.
Pickle roulette.
It smells fine.
Watermelon.
I got a pickle.
That's a wrap.
I lost.
All right. Until next time.